Hey everybody, welcome back to Dad Talk. Today I am sitting here with Mr. Lee Murphy. Lee, how you doing?
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes sir, it's a pleasure to meet you. So I know you're running for Congress in Delaware?
United States Congress. I was a candidate for Congress in 2020 and keeping my options open for 2022.
There you go, my man. Lee, do you know a little bit about what's going on with the father absence and the fatherless issue in America right now?
Well, I mean, as a father, of 3 beautiful children, and a grandfather of 4 grandkids, big brother, big sister to at-risk youth in my community over the years. I know, and as a coach, I might add, as a coach, I realize that the importance of a father in a home, and a father, mom, and a dad. But as we've seen, and I've personally seen, homes without a dad, a loving, caring dad, it's sad. It's tragic in many cases.
You know, we see the fatherless statistics on how many of these kids are committing suicide, they're dropping out of school. There's so many different things going on with these fatherless children, and it's, I don't understand. Why do you think not many people are talking about it?
Well, I think, if we talk about the left, okay?
Yep.
Versus the right.
That's right.
Okay, if you talk about it as a Republican candidate, and I've had this experience, well, you're a racist.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, the reason we address it is not to draw attention to one group, whatever that may be. We want to solve, as conservatives, we want to solve the problem. We want to help kids in need. And we want to correct the policies enacted by the Democrats, quite frankly, in my lifetime since the mid-'60s with Lyndon Johnson, that have made primarily minorities in this country dependent on the federal government. And it's made it profitable for single moms to rely on the government without a father in the home.
Right.
And that's tragic.
Well, Lee, I didn't know this until I started Dad Talk. I started talking about what was going on in divorce court and everything. And I started having all these fathers coming up to me and talking about false allegations. I was really careful with that at first. It was like, some of the things that they're accused of are really touchy subjects, and we do not want to be taken up for anybody that's going through that. But at the same time, there's a reason that they do it, because it's effective. And I started meeting some of these guys, like in no way, shape, or form they were proving their innocence in every way, and there's no consequences for making that. We've seen it make its way into politics as well. And they call it the silver bullet because of its effectiveness. And if I accuse you of this, then you're guilty until proven innocent. And many times, even if they prove their innocence, they're guilty. Do you think that's the reason that when you go to talk about the fatherless issue inside of politics, that they claim you're racist? Because that racism inside of politics is almost like a silver bullet itself. We saw what happened with Donald Trump.
I mean, and you say silver bullet, it is kind of a silver bullet. And it's amazing, the people that are accusing are the ones that really need to look in the mirror themselves. They're the ones that don't want to accept responsibility. They're the ones that don't want to take care of the problem. They don't want to address the real problem and the causes of why kids don't have fathers.
Well, it's the cancel culture in full effect. That's exactly what it is. Call them a racist, do anything, because this guy is talking about issues and we don't want anybody to listen to it.
Yeah. And Lee, let me ask you too, I know that we've talked with legislators in the past about legislation to level the playing field for men when it comes to family court. And we're met with the resistance. Some say, look, the feminists are a big lobby, they're a big part of the vote. I don't want to make the feminists mad. So, as a lawmaker, as a senator, how do you deal with these real world issues that need to be dealt with without having to worry about the political ramifications?
Well, it's interesting. As a dad, I went through a divorce. I've been in family court. I've been in family court as a dad, and more recently, unfortunately, as a grandfather. Family court, in my experience, it's definitely slanted against the father.
Against men.
Against the men. And you better have a lawyer. And I could see historically over the years I can see how that came about. I mean,
Right.
but we live in 2021, and the level field, the playing field should be level. I mean, there's no good guy, bad guy in a divorce.
Right.
I mean, maybe there is, but look, both parents should be treated equally in a court of law, family court. And I've had experience there, and I've had a female attorney, my ex-wife, and a female judge. Okay, I'm not going to go any further. Okay, but
I got you.
I'm not going to say anything, but we really need we need equality, and that should go for all parties. But the feminist movement, look, I embrace my masculinity,
Absolutely.
and I'm not going to be deterred
That's right.
any less of a man in any situation.
Very good.
And I feel strongly about that, and I'm not going to bend.
There you go. You know, Lee, one of the things that we've been trying to do, you said you've been inside a family court yourself. You know, if a father is fit, willing, and able, he's not any of these things he's painted out to be, he's a good father, he can take care of his children, he should not have to go through family court and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars if he just gets a divorce. Sometimes it's not by their choice that they're getting divorced. So what we're trying to do is get some legislation passed in each one of these states that say upon divorce, if you have to have a divorce, that rights would be created equal for mothers and fathers, 50-50, and make them co-parent, because it's what's in the best interest of the child. You might not be in a relationship with each other anymore, but you can come together and make sure you're both a presence. And kids need that. We've seen the research. We see how important it is to have that intact family home. I'm curious, if there was some legislation like that came out in Delaware, would you support it?
Yeah, in Delaware, unlike some other states, it's a little bit more fair.
Is it? Yeah.
I know neighboring states, New Jersey and Pennsylvania, it's pretty much in a woman's favor. It's slanted that way.
Gotcha.
And it is state by state.
It is, yes.
And I think it should remain state by state.
Yep.
As a U.S. Congressperson, I hope that would happen on the state legislative
Right.
on the state legislative
Gotcha.
level.
Yeah.
And nationally, I don't know what necessarily. I think it should be handled by the individual states. But certainly in some states, it's got to be a lot more fair than this.
You know, I wish we could get it on a national level, because it seems what happens, we get in the states, and then the opposition comes in there, the special interest, the money in the back door, and it seems like we just keep getting blocked.
Well,
and then they try to get hearings on it, and it dies.
Well, and from a constitutional perspective, from a federal level, they say that domestic relations are reserved from the states. So that's from the legal perspective. So it will stay on a state-to-state basis unless federal law changes, which I don't see that changing anytime soon. So, you know, go into each state, and then Erica's right. Then the lobbyists come in, the special interest groups come in, you know, the women's groups come in. Of course, they don't want 50-50. They're opposed to that. But if there was legislation in your state that said, you know what, if both parents are fit, willing, and able, then there's a presumption. There's a presumption in place that's rebuttable. But a presumption that both parents are fit and that both parents should have equal time with the child, and the judge can move the needle based upon the evidence.
Yes.
Is that something that you would support?
Oh yeah, absolutely. As I said, I just went through this with my grandchildren, and I'm helping to raise my two beautiful grandchildren. Unfortunately, my daughter passed 7 years ago, and
I'm so sorry.
in that case, there was not a father involved. Okay, and so we're raising my two grandkids. My daughter, who I was very close to, very close, my best friend, did not have a relationship really with her mom and her step-grandfather. So they immediately sealed me off from seeing my grandchildren, who I was very close to. And I couldn't believe it, but there I was in court, fighting to see time and spend time and have influence in their lives. I was back in court and made out to be, quite frankly, as a bad guy.
Yep.
Which I wasn't. You know, all I wanted to do, like I had been, is to participate in their lives and have some equal input into what they're doing. And fortunately, I won and got those rights. But it was a battle. It was a real battle.
God bless you, and that's another thing. One of the biggest topics of this show is what's called parental alienation, where one parent brainwashes another child or their child to not want a relationship with the other parent. And that gets so much focus. But one thing that's not getting a lot of focus, it's the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, everybody are being kept out of that child's life. And grandparents have really become somewhat of a lost discussion in society nowadays. And that was the closest thing to me, besides my parents. In many ways, I was with my grandparents more than I was my mom and dad when I was a kid, because they're the ones that took care of me while they was working. And just to hear that you did that, man, one, I'm sorry for your loss, but they're blessed to have you, and grandparents are special. They are special.
And as you said, I mean, grandparents today, because of a lot of reasons, have taken on a parental role.
Yes, absolutely.
And more of a parental role, and they are supplying that love.
Yes.
And that encouragement.
Yes.
So the role of a grandparent in 2021 is much different than it was when I was growing up.
You're right.
And
yeah, well, and they talk about how this generation, a lot of the youth, they don't have these morals. They don't have conservative values. And when I was younger, my grandparents is who I like to talk to. They're the ones that taught me the stories. They was the one that had been there and they had done that. This generation, I don't feel like are talking enough to their grandparents, and I believe that has a lot to do with why this young generation is getting so lost in their morals and values.
well, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And in the case of my two grandchildren, they're getting everything from their grandparents, because there are no parents, unfortunately. But and other people in their lives, coaches and teachers, and luckily my grandkids have a lot of love.
Oh yeah, I imagine so.
Kid can never have enough
That's
love.
right.
No, they can't have enough. They can't have enough love. It's just you need that. I needed it. They need it.
There you go.
All kids need it.
Well, Lee, I appreciate it so much, and everything that you said. Guys, make sure that you're watching this. Lee, if anybody wants to keep up with what you're doing, where can they find you?
Well, gomurph.com, gomurph.com, and you can go to my website, and we'll see about the future. And if we make that run for Congress, we'll be sure to let everybody know.
Lee, one thing I could ask you, for any of these parents that are struggling in family court inside the Delaware state, what could you leave them with?
Are you talking about the dads, or are you talking
Both.
about
Anybody that's struggling, because it happens to moms too. It's definitely a lopsided battle.
Well, unfortunately, divorce is a painful thing. Emotions are high. Somebody dislikes the other person for whatever reason, and you need a third party to come in and navigate the legal system so one person doesn't get hurt, or both people. Okay. It's hard to. What I would like to say is, if you can be sensible and work it out together, and a less legal involvement.
Absolutely. Keep the government out of it.
Because one thing I found out, when you go to court, okay, you open up very personal lives to complete strangers. And that's sad.
It is.
It's necessary, but it's really sad. So if it can be somewhat worked out, I know that's probably not always possible.
I agree with you 100%. Words of wisdom from Lee Murphy in Delaware. Guys, make sure you go and follow him and give him your support. We've got an advocate in Lee. Lee, so nice to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Everybody
Thank you
stick
so
around.
much.
We'll be right back.